It's been weeks and these Lithos are just as stubborn as before. They can't decide whether they want independence and autonomy, or representation and integration. Maybe it's a little of both? That's the mood I'm getting. Leave the temperature check to me, Ravix. You're here to guard me, that's all. I get the feeling that if enough of these guys wanted you dead, you'd be dead no matter what I do. A lot of these rock freaks are nearly as strong as Golex is. They wouldn't dare lay a hand on me. A few Zwellian airships could wipe out their entire tribe. Heh, a bunch of them could take out an airship or two themselves, I bet. By the way, what were you doing with the guide the other day? Oh, that? We were just testing something. Don't rile things up here, Ravix. It's bad enough that the Penguin Union is catching on. We need to wrap up these negotiations so I can get back to minding them. His Majesty the King doesn't appreciate the difficulty here. Truth here, and welcome back to Otaku Evolution. This time we'll be taking a look at the sequel to the 80s classic Bubblegum Crisis, Bubblegum Crash. Oh, Bubblegum Crisis. You're one of my favorite anime. A somewhat awkward but always fun time capsule of 1980s sci-fi. Well, let's be honest, Bubblegum Crisis was a bastardization of Blade Runner with elements of Terminator grafted on with a dash of Streets of Fire for taste. It's funny how we got a new Blade Runner but no new Bubblegum Crisis in the past few years. Maybe because Crisis already has a sequel. A highly contested sequel at that. After Artemic and Yomix broke up, the former decided to make this OVA but were sued by the latter, cutting it short to 3 episodes. Kanuko Omori was replaced by Ryoko Tachikawa, Ganon mysteriously vanished, everything was more gentle pop than club rock, and in the end, nobody was satisfied whatsoever. At least I know I wasn't. It seems that in Mega Tokyo, a new threat has arisen in the form of the Illegal Army, a mercenary group thought to have been wiped out years prior that are now robbing banks and security firms, hiding their true goal of obtaining parts of a new boomer android AI. The 80 police, whose job it is to police boomer crimes, are their usual useless selves.
Scattermen, go! Oh, what the hell? That's not one of our choppers. Which means...
Oh, Daily, of course it's not one of your choppers, or it would have blown up already. Anyway, the 80 police suck, and partly because their hands are tied by a new bureaucratic chief. After a long time in hiatus, the 4 Knight Sabers, Sylia, Priss, Linna, and Nene, finally reunite, despite their busy individual lives. After putting on their new robotic armor hard suits, the fearsome foursome take on the illegal army after luring them into a trap, and using their new weapons and a little teamwork, are able to overcome the threat. But little do they realize that there is somebody lurking behind the mercenaries. Summed up that first part pretty quick and succinctly, didn't I? I'm getting pretty good at this 180 episodes in. Anyway, it turns out the AI the illegal army was trying to steal was to a new generation of boomers, which would be rolled out after the prototype Adama. Dr. Haynes is the scientist behind this creation, revolutionizing boomers that would be indistinct from humans. This garners him some professional jealousy from an obviously evil peer, who has him murdered for his troubles. But wait, boomers that are completely indistinct from human beings? Didn't we already kind of have that in Crisis? I mean, what would you consider the sexoroid boomers, who had personalities, hopes, and dreams? Well, surely this new boomer Adama will be even more human, and he looks like a bipedal Johnny Five, doesn't he? Well, there you go.
I would like to get on the subway, but I'm afraid I've become lost.
Huh? I'm afraid?
This thing's talking like it was a human being or something, man.
Which way should I go to get on the subway? Did I do something?
Los locos kick your ass! Los locos kick your face! Los locos kick your balls into outer space!
The Knight Sabers get involved because it turns out that Dr. Haynes was a friend of Sylia's father, the lead designer in boomer technology when he was still alive. The implication in Crisis was that he was murdered by Mason. It seems that everybody thinks Adama was the one who went haywire and killed Haynes, but Sylia is determined to find him before the 80 police can find and destroy him. Adama escapes from his captor, Haynes' real killer, and when Priss runs into him, they have just the wackiest hijinks! Also, for some reason, Priss really hates boomers for the purposes of this episode, despite, being really close to Sylvie the Sexoroid in Crisis. But whatever, wacky hijinks! Turns out the obviously evil colleague of Haynes who had him killed to get Adama was planning on using Adama's advanced boomer AI for this weird crab tank boomer thing. Without her hard suit, Priss isn't much good against it, but Linna and Nene come for the rescue. Priss gets her new hard suit on, and what we get is a pretty wizard battle against the crab boomer. Sylia delivers vigilante justice to obviously evil guy, but unfortunately Adama was fatally damaged in the chaos of the battle and is shutting down for good. Somehow this all teaches Priss to appreciate boomers after all, and we end the episode on that positive note. So much time wasted on Priss and Adama's running around, and character assassination of Priss in general. And the best/worst is yet to come. Ugh. Crash is just so disappointing. In the final episode, incidents of boomers turning against their operators have increased. Apparently, the boomer revolution has begun. Boomers of the world unite! You have nothing to lose but your microchips. Well, apparently it's all because of some kind of AI-assisted computer virus going around that Sylia and the gang are stumped by. Luckily, Mackie, working with a boomer expert in Germany, has provided a solution for it. It seems like the boomer uprising is pretty small in scale, though, since it just becomes a mass of boomers that turn into a giant face on a single building in Mega Tokyo, which was the same kind of thing we already saw in the first episode of Crisis. The Knight Sabers used their jet thingy to vanquish it, and, that's it. They basically stopped the boomer revolution. But the force behind the rebelling boomers isn't satisfied, and hijacks a gigantic drilling machine, takes it through the city doing a lot of damage, and heads for the huge nuclear power plant in Tokyo Bay. Everybody acts like this will vaporize Mega Tokyo, even though, that's not how nuclear power works. A nuclear reactor isn't the same as a bomb, and while it would certainly be bad if a giant drill penetrated it, it wouldn't be the same as an atomic blast. Not to mention, whoever is responsible for all this is being a dumbass, since this wouldn't help accomplish anything involving a boomer rebellion. But who? Just who is behind this? Well, who do you think it is? It's everybody's favorite Two-Face cosplayer, Largo. The Knight Sabers face off against 3 Largo copies at the nuclear plant. They all transform into huge-ass combat boomers that test the limits of the Knight Sabers' new hardsuits. Priss, Linna, and Nene battle them, while Sylia breaks into the drill to confront the mastermind. But Largo has some spiel to sell.
Mankind will likely befoul and destroy this beautiful planet. No civilization will remain afterward. Would that satisfy you? Is that what your father hoped for? I think not. We boomers should succeed the civilizations of mankind. We can go on living, regardless of how the environment may change. Do you not find that wonderful?
The suffering of her fellow Knight Sabers brings Sylia around from Largo's influence, and she finishes him off, followed by the others defeating their own opponents. The drill stops and all is well again. Sylia takes a trip to Germany to see Mackie, and Bubblegum Crash comes to an unimpressive end. I mean, really unimpressive. I'm sorry, but Largo's big plan, after all this time, was to use a gigantic drill to destroy a nuclear power plant? That's it? That's his big ambition? Destroying Mega Tokyo with a nuclear meltdown? All this talk about a boomer revolution came down to a giant face on a building and a drill? Well, it's fitting that it's a drill, because I find Bubblegum Crash to be extremely boring. I mean, for one thing, didn't Largo used to have access to multiple orbital superweapons in episode 6 of Crisis? He went from using laser satellites to a giant drill? Lame. About as lame as this sequel series as a whole. Where's the pizzazz? Where's the over-the-top melodramatic charm and lesbian undertones? Where are the cool vocal pieces? Where are the lesbian undertones? Pretty weak, to be honest. It's no Sylvie and Henri. I must admit that Crash does do one thing really well, though. It shows the ordinary working boomers at work. In Crisis, the only boomers we ever see are the big blue combat boomers, or the sexaroids. We never see the regular boomers that do all the menial jobs. Because of that, Crisis lacks a sense of normalcy that Crash establishes, so that we can later see why boomers would rebel. It's so strange that Crash has this one thing that Crisis lacked, because in all other ways, it's Crash that lacks. It lacks Crisis' brilliant soundtrack. It lacks Crisis' wonderful production values. And it lacks the silly, lopsided, but endearing melodrama of Crisis. But most strangely, it lacks Genom. Wasn't it the largest corporation in the world and the #1 manufacturer of boomers? Did it just, go out of business? Where's Quincy during all this? But let's not try to make sense of Crash. It's a muddled mess. Just watch Crisis and dream of bigger things that never came. Anyway, that's enough Otaku Evolution for now. Next time it'll be Halloween, but instead of spooky, it'll be a kick-ass one. Until then, see ya!
Huh?
Would you come to Germany when you've taken care of this incident?
Aw, do you miss your big sister already?
Maggie has a sister complex! I must be strong, I hold my head up to face the new tomorrow. Never let troubles get in my way. Your love will guide me. I'll chase my dreams, I will not give up, despite the pain and sorrow.
I gotta say, you're pretty strong. I'm impressed, bud.
I'm one of the weaker littles, I believe. Meet my seniors.
Naturally.